Hello everyone. In the second part, you've learned about the history of Cheongsam in the last century. Though it was once forgotten in a wardrobe for decades in the mid-20th century in mainland China, it is now well received both home and abroad. Do you know why Chinese Cheongsam is so popular among women and why it has such unique oriental charm? In this part, you will learn about it. Nowadays, people's love towards Cheongsam means much more than a dress to them. The charm of Cheongsam lies in its unique design, the profound cultural connotations, and the aesthetic thoughts it carries. The curve and oriental delicacy displayed by the Cheongsam can be seen in its design, which mainly includes the collar, front piece, shoulder, sleeves, chest, waist, hip, hem, and slits. Firstly, let's take a look at the collar, the front piece, and the sleeves of Cheongsam. The stand-up collar goes neatly around the neck. It is meticulously made with a symmetrical design and shows the curve of the wearer's neck naturally. The typical traditional Cheongsam has kind of high stand-up collar, as the women are not supposed to expose too much of their necks, not to say the cleavage of the breasts shown because of the clothes with low V-shaped collar. It can be said that this design of Cheongsam is deeply rooted in the traditional mainstream Chinese ethics and morals, like restraining oneself and following the etiquette, which were recorded in great detail in the Confucian Book of Rites. The style of Cheongsam must conform to rites and rituals. It was recorded in the instruction book for women in Han Dynasty that dress must cover women's whole body except the head, hands, and the tips of the toes, which was considered one of the manner disciplines for Chinese women. However, nowadays, the design of the stand-up collar is diversified, including high collar, low collar, shoe-shaped collar, wave-shaped collar, water drop-shaped collar, and a V-shaped collar, etc. Traditional Chinese gown-style dresses adopted the open front piece style since the Shang and Zhou dynasties. Traditional Chinese Cheongsam had a front piece in many styles, and it was mainly asymmetrical with the buttons on the right. The Chinese attached great importance to the directions and positions: the east, the south, the west, the north, and the center, each one with special meanings. Since the ancient times, the Chinese Han people have highly esteemed the right. That was why the buttons were usually on the right side of the clothes. Only the people of some minority groups have their buttons on the left side of the clothes. However, under the influence of the modern Western fashion design, the design of the front piece of modern Cheongsam is more varied. Some with the coiled buttons in the middle in a symmetrical design, and some with the buttons on the left. Since the 1920s, the design of sleeves underwent a lot of changes with the fashion trends. At that time, the sleeves of Cheongsam were shortened first. Then, after the 1930s, It rolls from wrist to the middle of lower part of arm, to elbow, to the middle of the upper part of arm, and then finally there were no sleeves. The removal of the sleeves was a gradual and an infinitely cautious procedure, as it took about 20 years of time. It was considered one of the most important of latest innovations during that period, as it was kind of challenge to the traditional Oriental sense of moderation. Therefore, traditional Cheongsam had various designs of sleeves, but the sleeves of modern Cheongsam are many in Western style. Then, the parts like shoulder, chest, waist, hip, and hem are designed to fully display the beautiful curve of a woman's body, and at the same time seek a kind of natural decorative effect. All parts should be made severely to the measurement, not too loose, not too tight, in order to show the woman's elegance and decency. Although the hems of most modern Cheongsams are quite fitting, some are also designed in fish-tail shape, A-line shape, and other shapes for different occasions. For convenient movement and the natural display of women's legs, the modern Cheongsam generally has two slits at either side of the hem. The legs exposed at the rhythm of intervals as the woman walks presents a kind of ambiguous beauty. Besides the unique design of the Cheongsam, the typical techniques of tailoring also add to its charm and delicacy. The exquisite and refined techniques for making a Cheongsam many include lacing, edging, embedding, coiling, and embroidering. Though complicated, these distinct techniques do make Cheongsam more delicate and graceful. Let's first focus on the buttons of Cheongsam. The coiled button is one of the unique techniques and the Chinese elements of Cheongsam. As its name coiled button suggests, it is made in a way that the cloth strips are woven into different patterns. It can not only fix the front piece, but also serve as a decorative item. The coiled buttons can be designed in various shapes, such as butterfly-shaped button, the qipao-shaped button, the chrysanthemum-shaped button, etc. The making of coiled buttons is one of the unique craft work of traditional Chinese costumes. Actually, it is a kind of Chinese knotting handcraft. Therefore, the buttons themselves have profound symbolic meanings. For example, the shou character-shaped button symbolizes longevity. The butterfly-shaped button symbolizes happiness, and the ruyi button symbolizes auspiciousness and good fortune. Actually, it's the coiled button that best displays the exquisite nature of a Cheongsam, as it is now the only part of Cheongsam that cannot be mass-produced by machine. The edging technique is for wrapping the borders at collar band, cuffs, slits, and the hem of Cheongsam. The making of Cheongsam edging requires meticulous effort. It should be of the same width as the collar, cuffs, slits, and rim. The needlework must be fine and accurate. Embroidery had been widely used in making cheongsam since the Qing dynasty. The elaborate patterns embroidered on cheongsam help fully display its grace and elegance. Now, let's have a look at the pattern decoration on cheongsam. Pattern decoration is an indispensable element of Chinese clothing culture. The patterns embroidered on cheongsam are the symbols of traditional signs in Chinese culture, and every one of them has profound meanings. The common patterns on the earliest Chinese cheongsams are dragon, phoenix, auspicious cloud, butterfly, fish, plum blossom, chrysanthemum, peony, and so on. By the end of the Qing dynasty, the patterns of cheongsam became comparatively simple, such as a single flower or cluster of flowers. The cheongsam with geometrical patterns, like stripe and check patterns, were well received. In the early 20th century, the fabrics with the stripe and check patterns were still popular. They were often designed with the patterns of flowers and twisting branches. In the 1930s and the 1940s, the colors of cheongsam became bold and bright, many designed with giant flower patterns. Modern cheongsams are less showy. Instead of showing high social status and nobility, women wearing cheongsam pursue elegance and good taste. Apart from the unique design and exquisite techniques of making cheongsam, the cloth materials of which cheongsam are made also add to its charm. As to the cloth materials, traditional Chinese cheongsam was mainly made of brocade or jacket fabric with fine embroidery. By the end of the Qing dynasty, as the Western looms, dyeing machines, and the dyeing technology were introduced into China, the cloth materials like the camlet, woolen cloths were also imported from the West and were used in making cheongsam. Now, the modern cheongsam can be made of an even wider range of cloth materials, like cotton fabric, nylon, silk, velvet, brocade, and so on. Among other materials, silk is probably the most welcomed by women for the following reasons. Firstly, it is thin, soft, and light, so it goes very well with the wearer's body and shows the female figure in a natural and graceful way. Secondly, silk allows heat radiation in hot weather very well, while it also helps keep the warmth of the body in cold weather. So far, we've talked about the unique design of cheongsam, the exquisite techniques of making a cheongsam, and the diversified cloth materials of cheongsam. All of these make cheongsam a very typical Chinese dress. What's more, the charm of cheongsam also lies in its profound cultural connotations and aesthetic thoughts, without which the charm of cheongsam would fade away. Though made in a very unique way, cheongsam is in a very moderate style, which exactly reflects the Oriental sense of moderation. Easy to slip on and comfortable to wear, The Cheongsam fits well female body and shows female figure, but it's never revealing, like no cleavage and not too much exposure of women's legs. It shows very well the naturalist, spontaneity, detachment from desires advocated in a Tao Te Ching. What's more, the Cheongsam is an undoubtedly paradoxical creation, but also a harmonious unity in itself. The one-piece body-hugging style, with the unique design in color, front piece, sleeves, and slits, makes it a unity of internal and external harmony. That's all for the topic Chinese Cheongsam. In summary, originating in the Manchu women's dress, incorporating techniques of the Han ladies' costumes, and observing styles of the 20th century Western dresses, Cheongsam is a combination of the Manchu and Han cultures, and at the same time, a combination of the Chinese and Western fashions, showing unique charm and aesthetic value. The Cheongsam is now regarded as the typical Chinese dress style. It has now evolved into a major fashion element to be reckoned with in the international fashion industry and will be the everlasting fashion in the world. Thank you for your attention.